first look at the NBA Monday slate, talking about it from DFS perspective, but I thought I would just touch on some things from over the weekend. I was very impressed by Denver's bouncing back. I wasn't surprised. I thought that Minnesota played really well yesterday defensively. Denver just, they're a machine when they get going, and they looked freaking awesome. I also thought that, unfortunately for your Knicks, sort of the fear of what might happen seems to start to be happening. The guys are just, as you sort of said before the series, the guys sort of get worn down. You got the injury to Anunoby, which I don't think is not. I think it does have something to do with playing 1 million minutes off of an injury every night, and it's just tough to get through. But it's still going to be an exciting finish this series. I still hope the Knicks can close it out in 7.
It's the equivalent of for those NASCAR people for trying to win the race without ever going to pit road. Trying to win the race without ever changing tires. You could have the lead for quite a while sometimes, and you can get away with it if cautions come out the right way or something. But it's just tough to win like this when you play your guys 400 minutes. First of all, the whole season, and then even more in the playoffs. Yeah. It's a long road out there, and it affects you more the later the season goes on. So
yeah.
Now with that said, it doesn't matter whether you win by 1 or 30. So I'm glad. Listen, I was glad that they got to rest their guys in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, finally. Thank goodness, by the way. If that game got cut a little bit closer, you might have seen them out there again.
Exactly. So that's going to work. And the fact is, it's still 2-2. It's a best of 3 series. The Knicks have the home court advantage. They're favored to win it. And, there you go. But the Denver-Minnesota thing is it's really humorous. The Twitter wars. After the first game, people were pricing odds for a sweep and this, and Anthony Edwards is better than Michael Jordan and all this stuff. And listen, Anthony Edwards has been amazing,
Yeah.
But let's not get carried away. Jokic and Denver, they're there for a reason,
Yeah. And a huge shout out to Anthony Edwards for his attitude about all this stuff, because he gets interviewed last night, and what do you say? He's like, "Well, look, they have the best player in the world. This is not a guy who's like these other guys who are just." Don't get me wrong, he has ego, he talks shit on the court, but he is the first person to take accountability. He's the first person to say, "Hey, it's tough to beat the guys who are better than you." So I really do really like the way he handled the whole thing. But he was, honestly, if that was a game they ever won, that was going to be an all-time great game, because he was, not only was he incredible, at one point he was 14 for 18 from the floor with 40 points. I'm like, what is going on here? This is the best, most efficient performance ever, and he won't take bad shots. Anyway, so tonight's games, I have a pretty strong take, which is the same take I've had every game in this Boston-Cleveland series. I think that it would have worked out no matter what. I think you bet Boston to cover every game, and you bet Cleveland to win outright every game. It's only 3-1 tonight. The other night when they won in Boston, it was 8-1 that you got for the Cleveland side. So I will just keep narrowing myself to that. I think Boston wins in a blowout most of the time. I think that Cleveland has enough of a chance to win to where in a close game, you just bet on the money line. I think that makes plenty of sense. And that's what I would treat that game with. And I think the OKC Dallas game, I would, I think it's such a pick'em. And I have a feeling that tonight OKC bounces back and squeaks out a win. Although I did pick Dallas to win the series. So I'm a little up in the air on what I want to do there. Vegas is telling you that they think that OKC is the better team. By being a 1-point underdog on the road here. And basically the whole series has sort of shifted more towards OKC's being the better team. Maybe that's the case, but Luka, Kyrie, and PJ Washington, my hero who almost won me the money on Friday, may have something to say about it. So getting into the DFS side of it, I'm just looking at the stuff with Boston and Cleveland. Do you have any overall takes that you have, for who you like here? Because
I do. First of all, I don't know whether this has been a tease for the last week or two, but Jared Allen has been getting some shots up. I don't know if that means he actually has a chance to play or not, or whether they just do that just to give the other team something to try to scout and coach when they know he's just done for the season. And I wouldn't put that past him either.
Yeah,
I would probably do that, by the way. If I were a coach of a team with a guy that looked like he might play, but he's really out for the season, I'd throw him in for shoot-arounds and keep the mystery the whole freaking time. Anyway, I don't know how many rules that would violate, but that's I would do that until I got caught, I guess. I actually think that that Boston's been kind of, I'm gonna say walking through the raindrops, but I think they've just been kind of flat for like a while now. They haven't really been in a tight game, I don't think. They've either like been totally flat or they totally blow people out or whatever. I'm curious whether they have it in them, you know what I mean, in a close game right now. I really am. Cleveland's kind of at least getting used to this this non-Jared Allen thing. Donovan Mitchell just kind of brings it. You know, I not that I have anything against Tatum, whatever it is, but give me the ball and Donovan Mitchell in a close game. You know what I mean? Like I think Cleveland can keep this game going. That's my opinion in this game. It's just no reason. That's my gut. Oklahoma City, Dallas. I just think that OKC is better, but what the hell do I know? What is the spread? Like pick 'em or something?
The OKC is at 1-point dog.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I
basically, yeah. So yes, essentially it's a pick 'em.
Yeah, I just kind of like OKC, but no real strong takes.
Yeah. Well, so I think that I think that's interesting because I think that the Cleveland, that what you said about Cleveland, partly I don't trust Boston the way that they try to operate down the stretch when they had played close games, because they don't seem to have a real identity other than Jason Tatum sort of trying to like take step back threes, and he's not like efficient. So it's like a weird thing, but if they get it going and they're hitting their threes during the game, them winning by 30 on the road or at home would absolutely not surprise me.
Yeah.
And they're very good defensively still, even with, without Porzingis, who they really figured out how to utilize. But from DFS perspective, it makes it kind of a tricky, so if you have, let's say you were playing two high buy-in builds, I would have one sort of built with the idea of Boston blowing out Cleveland, and I would have one built with, Cleveland basically sort of beating Boston. But the one thing I wanted to point out, which I think makes it interesting for DFS, we keep seeing this, and Luka is not the same as Jokic in this current version. Luka is definitely banged up. And for what it's worth, he's 11-2, and Shea is 9,800, and Shea has outscored him, I believe, in every game so far, and is significantly averaging higher. Donovan Mitchell is averaging the same amount of fantasy points per game in the Boston series that Luka is in the Dallas series. So I'm going to go back to what I keep saying. I would start my builds that way with Mitchell, with Shea, and gulp and fade Luka and Kyrie. I would get overweight. Now it's not. Unfortunately, I was loving the PJ Washington at 10% ownership on a 2-game slate. We're not going to get that anymore after he's been going crazy. But I would put Washington and Gafford, and then I would find one of the other medium pieces from OKC to go with Mitchell. And you really don't need to play anyone else on Cleveland. But if there's no Allen again, I'll go right back to LeVert. If Allen is in, I think I would probably prefer to play a little bit more Struss than LeVert, even though they both would take a little bit of a hit down. But it's probably just Mitchell that I really want to target if Allen's back. And again, if not, you're going to get LeVert at 40% ownership. You're going to get 20% ownership on Struss. Maybe you decide to do that just for the ownership discount. If you play the Boston blowing out angle, those tend to go the route of Jaylen Brown and Derek White having big games. If you want to play the game is going to be close, that might be a little bit more Tatum and Holiday at this price. Either way, Al Horford is he hasn't been great in this series. Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard are two guys you can use for semi-value. Sam Hauser is a fringe value. And all of a sudden, we're back on the Luke Cornett is not going to be a thing anymore because he didn't have good games and they stopped playing him in the last one. I might just go back to it and say, hey, maybe we get the game one Luke Cornett instead, and Tillman doesn't keep getting the minutes. But I think that's an interesting place to speculate on this slate. All the guys from you're going to have divided up ownership for guys like Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, who I was high on in this series. Cason Wallace now seems to be the one who's going to be a little bit lower owned, but I think in a close game, they're going to want him out there probably more than the other guys. Depends on how well Joe's shooting. Depends on who's leading. Lou Dort is the other value. These are just sort of the guys who you're mixing in to make things work. And Tim Hardaway went from being 1% owned at 3,700, which I felt very good about that play on Friday. And now everybody wants to play him. Maybe switch back to Josh Green. Everybody wants to play well, actually, I don't think enough people want to play Gafford. I think his projection is way too low. So I would say that I would go out of my way to use one of Gafford or Lively, because neither of their ownerships seem to be appropriate to what the responsibility of that they'll have will be. I mean, I know Gafford, I think he had a down game the other night, but overall, he's been very good in the series, fantasy wise. You know, whatever. You had the big 42 game, the 27. Even that is like okay at 5,500 when you're trying to spend down in some spots. D Pope asking an interesting question. If you're playing 10 lines of a 20 max, are you just locking in Mitchell? I would say you'd be quicker to lock in Shea than Mitchell, but I'm probably would have Mitchell in most of my lineups. I don't think it's like a guaranteed lock. For me, it would probably be, not quite a lock. But I like the idea of most of your lineup starting off with Shea and Mitchell. But yeah, maybe near lock, but not quite a full lock, I guess, for me. Any building takes, Sheets, DFS wise? Any thoughts you have about I guess we can run a sim later when it's a little bit closer and we actually know who's playing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better idea. But thought it'd be fun just to talk through a little bit of the series, because I've really enjoyed the playoffs. There was most of the games over the weekend weren't great, but overall I felt like it's been a really fun playoffs. Especially considering since the Lakers got eliminated, I really I love not hearing nearly as many complaints and excuses about why every team's losing. Just again, the fringy plays like that you might consider. Again, Dean Wade, if no Jared Allen, Jalen with a Y, Williams, who will have some ownership, Taysom Wallace. The one who sort of seems to be totally overlooked is Sam Hauser and Luke Cornett. And I think that maybe just hoping it goes a certain direction, especially if Jared Allen plays, I think Luke Cornett has a better chance to play more minutes. That's something I would do. It's going to be interesting with Lively what they do, because they did the hack of Lively the whole fourth quarter the other day, and they won the game, and he made 8 out of 12 free throws, so he actually didn't work. But if they go back to that, you might see more. That might be a reason, to both play more Lively and honestly to play some more Gafford, because if they do pull him out in that situation, it's going to be one of those two guys in the court mostly, unless they want to go with Washington at the 5. Anyway, yeah. So I just sort of wanted to talk it through a little bit. D Pope is asking, is it a similar process as NASCAR with Saber Sim? I drew my lines in the sand on a play and made 2 rules. I would say that absolutely is not the right thing to do. So I don't know. I don't play enough NASCAR to say, but I would not be trying to build similarly with basketball and NASCAR. It doesn't make any sense to me how that could be a similar build personally. So that's just not my thing. And
listen, wait, you could try it. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think it's so easy to have line in the sand plays in NBA either. And 2 rules and then run sims and filter program. I've definitely done that, Pope. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that's wrong. As a matter of fact, I mean, a couple of big scores I did that. I liked the guy. I just blasted him in there. And then I just, ran the other stuff according to SaberSim. So I don't know. It's possible. And I like the Geo mean for 5 dupes, by the way, Pope, in both the 2-game slate here in the NBA, also in Showdown, and also in NASCAR. So I actually like the comparison just for this particular thing, because it's such a short slate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm down with it with exactly what you're suggesting. Says, can I do the same? Now again, you put yourself in a lot of pressure, right? You got to be right on your lines in the sand, right? But if you do have the lines in the sand, I think it's a good blend to do that. You put your line in the sand in and let it run your thing, and whatever. And power, I don't want to have that debate with you. At NASCAR. Not that you're right or wrong. I'm just not equipped to make it.
Right.
But that's all I have.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys at 6 Eastern. We'll talk a little more when we have the slates figured out. I'll post my exposures and everything. And I'm kind of bummed that first of all, shout out to we did have a showdown winner for our Discord. OG the Gifted. He won $15K the other night.
Whoa! Really?
Yeah, last night. Yeah, he got first place in the showdown. with what is that a showdown? Yeah, it was a showdown. Yeah. So and with he wins it with a 1.25 points from Marcus Morris. So it just goes to show you if you get the right other pieces, you can survive with that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a lot of I'm really tilted a little bit. Sheets. The one last thing. How do I get my Alec Burks games? And I still don't.
I know it's ridiculous.
I actually I did it every night so far, and I kept doing it, and it worked, but I just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, I tied for second in that showdown with the Alec Burks. Someone else had someone else better than me, but
really? Oh,
yeah.
Was it at least a decent payout?
Yeah, well, it was like 3,000, something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's just wild that see Alec Burks on all the winning lineups after I felt like an idiot for playing him for 2 weeks, and people, I'm like, all of our subscribers are just think I'm an idiot because I say this guy who literally never plays a minute, and then all of a sudden he goes off. All right, guys. Well, good luck today, and we'll see you.
One second before you brought it up. Let me see. Yeah, I can't find it. Okay.